Hassell went through a very rigorous process. I know almost everything about him, including his shoe size, but we'll stop right there. And go into further. But it certainly is my honor to introduce to you Rocky Mount's newest addition to the executive leadership team and our newest chief of police. Chief Hassell is a very accomplished law enforcement executive with more than 25 years of service. He began his career in 1995 with the City of Kinston Police Department, where he served for 10 years. He left Kinston to become the Public Safety Director in Fairmont, North Carolina. He later became Police Chief for Hope Mills, very close to Fayetteville, if you know where that is. And then he served as the Associate Vice Chancellor of Police and Public Safety at Fayetteville State University. Prior to becoming the Chief of Police in Reedsville is where he served for 7 years until he was recently appointed as the Chief of Police for the city of Rocky Mount. Chief Hassell has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice administration from the University of Mount Olive. He has a master's degree in public administration from Central Michigan University and a doctorate degree of management and organizational leadership from the University of Phoenix. During Chief Hassell's distinguished journey within law enforcement, he has been the recipient of several departmental and civic awards and recognitions, which includes the Medal of Valor that he received on 2 different occasions, the Life Saving Award that he received on 2 different occasions also, the Outstanding Service Awards, the Citizen of the Year for the City of Reedsville, the Man of Distinction Award, and other community service awards from numerous organizations. Chief Hassell served as president of the North Carolina Association of Chiefs of Police during 2016 and is currently a member of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. Chief Hassell continues to serve in other leadership roles statewide and is currently Vice Chair of the Planning Committee for the North Carolina Criminal Justice Education and Training Standards Commission. During his leisure, you have that?
A little bit.
Chief Hassell serves as a volunteer for a youth mentoring program. Fellow Rotarians, please honor our newest Chief of Police, Chief Robert Hassell.
Thank you so much, Madam City Manager. Thank you to all the Rotarians in the room for inviting me here this afternoon to speak with you. Now, Ms. Warwick and I was talking, she said I have all the time I want. So if you got to get back to work, maybe we're going to go ahead on and call everybody and say, hey, you're going to be a little bit late. But seriously, I'll try not to keep you very long. I know how the time is very, we're all busy individuals, and you may have to get somewhere at 2. I would like to also just let everyone know I am a Rotarian from the Reedsville chapter, District 7690. I've been a Rotarian in Reedsville for my whole career in Reedsville for almost 7 years, so I'm not new. So I was just telling the city manager, it's interesting that the card draw, we do the same cards. That must be like a fixture in all Rotary clubs to do that particular card game. The Madam Manager already spoken or said a little bit about my bio, but I want to tell you a little bit more about me. I'm 47 years old. What you didn't hear is I am from Williamston, North Carolina. So that is just down the street, about 40 or so minutes. I'm born over in Windsor, but my mama took me back over to Williamston, where I was born and where I was raised for most of my childhood. And most of my family still lives there in Williamston. My father lives there, I have a brother lives there, and I have family in the general area. You know, For me, before I decided to become a police officer at an early age of 13, what got me there was Miss Payne came up to the table and she said her name, but it's not like actual Payne, it's spelled a little different, P-A-Y-N-E. But interesting enough, there was an Officer Wim Payne, who I met while I lived in Riverdale Apartments in Williamston. We called it Down the Hill. And I'm trying to look for the individual. He is from Williamston, born and raised also. His name, born in Williamston, he's talking about Clark's Pharmacy in Williamston. They're in the purple or lavender sweater vest. Gus, he's from Williamston also, so we have that in common. But Wim Payne approached me in the housing apartments, a public housing complex, and asked a lot of young boys to join law enforcement. Well, not law enforcement, but the Explorer program through the Boy Scouts of America. And it's basically venturing down and gives kids an opportunity to learn about a career. Before that, I never thought about law enforcement. Matter of fact, living in public housing, many young boys like myself didn't think about law enforcement, period. And that the relationship between police and our community wasn't the best. But I took a chance and I joined the Explorer program, and ever since I put that uniform on, I knew then at 13, I was going to be a police officer when I grow up. And as my teenage years passed, things changed. But I went to college at Beaufort Community for a little while. And then at that point I was married, had 2 beautiful children, and I was working at Weyerhaeuser. And one day, a deputy, Sean Pierce, said, "Robert, you always said you want to be a police officer. What happened?" I said, "Look, Sean, I'm married, I got kids that I can't afford to quit my job to go back to school, the police academy." But Sean helped find me a job in Williamston, the old Winn-Dixie, over there off of 13, just before you get over to the Berkeley County line. He got me a job stocking shelves, which helped me go to the police academy at night to support my family. So that is what and how I got introduced into law enforcement at a very early age. And I never would have thought I would, so many years later, 25 years in the career, I would be a police chief. I've been in law enforcement for 25 years. 15 of those years have been at the police chief level. As the Madam City Manager, Ms. Rochelle has said, I have served in many roles in leadership. I am very honored that I was elected the president of our association, the North Carolina Association of Chiefs of Police, where we represent many police departments across the state of North Carolina. After I have served in many roles in leadership, I finally was elected by my peers to be there to represent them as president. And I'm still serving the association as a commissioner. And for those of you who don't know, the North Carolina Training Standards or Education and Training and Standards Commission, they oversee all certifications for all law enforcement officers across our state. Not just police officers, but also probation and parole, the Department of Corrections, juvenile court counselors, all their certifications, 40,000 plus, all are overseen and governed by the commission. And I serve as one of 33 commissioners. And I do serve as vice chair of the planning committee. Basically, my committee, we review all the rules and standards that govern our officers across the state, the do's and the don'ts. So my committee oversees those rules and make sure we make those appropriate revisions. So that's a little bit more about myself personally. What drew me to Rocky Mount? I've already said I'm from the East, I'm from Williamston. My family is still here. Family in Williamston, family in Wilson, family in Fayetteville, family in Gardner. So our motto is what? Center of it all. Rocky Mount is the center where my family and I can share still those memories and build as we go forward. So that really drew me to Rocky Mount so I can be closer to my family, which is highly important to me. What have I learned about Rocky Mount since being here for 2 months? First and foremost, I got to recognize the men and women who proudly wear the badge. We got a great group of men and women within the ranks of the Rocky Mount Police Department. Not only those who serve in a law enforcement capacity, but our administrative staff as well. So I wanted to make sure I said that first and foremost. And they all proudly serve our citizens every single day with honor. They're dedicated to service just like I am. I've learned since being here, there's a host of great citizens who are here, who have welcomed me with open arms, like you all welcomed me when I came into the room this afternoon, one by one, shaking my hand, welcoming me to the city. I have found that to be the case repeatedly since being here, and I'm so thankful for all of your sentiments and compliments and welcomes since I've been here, so thank you for that. What do I believe in? I want to first say I believe in building partnerships and relationships with our community and the police department, first and foremost. We in law enforcement, we cannot make ourselves, our community safer without those relationships. And we have to build those relationships built off of trust. So that is one of my top priorities is to continue to build on that relationship that our police department have with our community, because we have many. But wherever I can improve those relationships, or if there's a relationship I need to foster and create, that is why I'm here. That is what I'm going to do. I've already started that on day one, May 3rd. I actually started that May 1st at my first event, which was a cold case event that was hosted over at Don Bullock Chevrolet. And I actually had the chance to meet Mr. Bullock because he was also attending that event. So that is my priority, to continue to build those relationships with our community. 2, I also believe, and I think many of you may not know this, but I'm a very front-facing type chief, meaning I have a lot of administrative duties in overseeing the police department. But I make every opportunity I can to get out and have face time with the citizens, as I'm doing today. You have been one of the individual groups that I wanted to come meet, and I'm glad I was invited to come speak with you today. But I have also met with many other organizations that's doing great things for our community here in Rocky Mount since day one. Community leaders, our faith-based, our pastors, our community leaders, in that sense, I've met many of them. And I want to continue to foster those relationships with them as well. Also, I've been meeting with some leaders with the chamber and other business leaders within our community as well. I am a transformational leader who believes in mentoring and officer development. If I don't believe in developing our officers, then they're not going to have the skills and the tools they need to be able to serve you better. So that is also one of my priorities. I've done that in my career from day one, especially as a police chief of 15 plus years, making sure that they get the training that they need so that way they can serve you, our citizens, much better. And I'm a practitioner of community-oriented policing. I say practitioner because I'm not one of the police chiefs that say, hey, community-oriented policing, that catchphrase. I actually do it. I believe in the programs, whether it's Coffee with the Cop or sponsoring children, neighborhood cleanups. I get out and I do these things. I partner with many organizations in the past, and I would do the same thing here, like, for example, Mr. Green with the Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers, Big Sister programs. I believe in those partnerships because when you came and introduced yourself to me, it reminded me back when I was in Kinston, and there was a Boys and Girls Club at it was Mitchell Wooten. They had a Boys and Girls Club right there in that housing complex. And one day a little boy came out the back as I was walking out the back of the mobile police station there and asked why I was there. And I said, well, I'm here to keep you and your family safe. That little kid looked up at me and said, well, don't come to my house, his apartment. And I said, well, why not? And immediately that little boy looked up at me. Now he's an African-American male, I'm an African-American police officer at the time, and said, because you're going to arrest my mommy. Automatically, that little boy, maybe 7 years of age, he knew in his mind, and it to be truth, that if I came to his apartment, that I was going to take his mama away. That's why I believe in partnering with the Boys and Girls Club, working with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, any program that deals with our kids, with our youth, because I don't want them to be afraid of the police. What they see on the television, what they may hear on the news or reading the paper, or they see on social media, what they even sometimes may hear from their own family members, isn't always the whole picture. And ever since, as a young officer, I met that little boy, don't know his name. As a young officer, I knew that I wanted to do something different. And that's when I started working with different businesses Me and some of the officers I work with, we will always make ourselves available to speak with kids in the community, passing out candy. Because for that little boy, every time he saw me in his neighborhood, I was locking up somebody. And many times that person I was locking up was somebody he knew, whether it was a brother, a cousin, a father, someone he knew that he thought was the good guy, but they were doing crime. So that's when I learned for the first time the value of creating relationships, having interactions with our youth, but with our community as a whole, so that way we can build those relationships built off of trust. I wanted to also make sure I say that over the last 30 to 90 days, I've taken this opportunity, I'm on my 60-day mark, to learn my staff. I'm getting to knowing them, my police officers, my administrative staff, understand what each of their jobs are. I've taken the time since being here to learn the community. I've already said I've met a lot of our community leaders already. I've already started looking at our training that our officers receive on a yearly basis. From de-escalation and fair and impartial policing, our crisis intervention training for our officers. Where are we at on that? How many of our officers have been trained? Because we know mental health is a challenge in many of our communities across our state, not just like it is here in Rocky Mount. I've also taken a lot of interest in moving it fast forward and making it a priority to help make sure our department becomes accredited with CALEA. So we are doing a very detailed project, reviewing all of our policies and procedures to make sure they meet national standards, the gold standard in our profession, so that way we can better serve our community. And we hope over the next 12 to 18 months we'll have significant progress, and hopefully eventually I can announce to our city manager and the elected that we are now, hopefully we're going to be accredited and be amongst the 10% across our country of police departments who have been able to hold that distinct honor. Also, since I've been here, I've taken the opportunity to assess the programs, initiatives, and strategies that the department has taken to combat our challenges. And the challenges, one that I'm going to speak up, is crime. Because I know for many of our citizens, that is something they want to know. How are we going to combat some of our issues with crime in our city? So I want to go over 4 areas that I have identified that I believe is going to make a significant difference as we move forward. First and foremost, I am a very data and citizen-driven type chief. I believe in looking at the data, but also I believe in listening to the citizens and where they feel the concerns are in the community, so to help target where we need to address some of the issues. When I say data, we have crime analysts on our staff who can identify those focus areas, or what they call hot spots, so that way we can concentrate our high visibility patrols in those areas to try to deal with those issues. So we're using that technology a lot more to direct our patrol commanders where those officers need to be putting more of their attention throughout our city. But again, it's not just about the data, because sometimes the data don't capture what you may see in your neighborhood. Because we know not all will call the police and report an issue. So that's why I always say data and citizen-driven when we talk about reallocating officers throughout our city for extra patrols. I'm reevaluating our patrol staffing, trying to make sure I put as many boots on the ground, so that way they're more forward and visible out there in the streets. One thing that I've recently done is I've created our violent crime and gang task force, a group of officers from investigations, our special operations division, and some patrol officers who comes out at certain times throughout the week, those peak times, to target those areas where we're having some increased levels of violence in our city. 3, community awareness campaigns. You may, if you follow us on Facebook, you may start seeing more PSAs, a public service announcement, on certain crimes that we may be seeing in our neighborhoods that we want to make sure you as citizens are aware of. And one particular area I'm looking at is thefts from motor vehicles. In the month of June, over half of the thefts from motor vehicles, half of them were unlocked. And many times we find individuals who are taking advantage of our citizens. They're going through the parking lot and just pulling on the handles. Just had one the other day, and out of the 5 or 6 cars, 4 or 5 of them, were unlocked. And so we're trying to make an assertive or a big effort to make sure we educate the public. Please listen to the little campaigns you may see, the After 9 campaign. Make sure your car doors are locked. Make sure you secure your home. Make sure you don't leave the back screen door unlocked or anything. Don't leave valuable items in your car so it's visible. So if someone is walking through a parking lot of a store or a business, they'll be tempted to try to handle and go inside and take something. If it's something of value, then they're going to try to break the glass out to grab it because they see there's something that they want inside. So you're going to see a lot of public safety announcements and things we'll put out on social media, and we'll share it in any other way we can to get out to the public to try to educate them on things we need them to be aware of to help reduce certain areas or certain crimes in our city. 4, we'll continue to build those partnerships, as I said, but I want to go a little bit a step further. We want to make sure we identify those organizations that have programs and services for individuals that we come across with every day. I do know there's a cycle for many individuals. Unfortunately, I've arrested many people over my 25-year career. And I've had the opportunity to talk to many of those individuals. And surprisingly, many of those individuals, they tell me, well, you don't understand what I've been through and why I have to do what I do to make and survive out here on the street. And I said, well, tell me. Well, he's out here selling drugs, wherever, so he sells drugs to take care of his children or take care of a family member. And that is not the only option he or she may have. But I know, as a chief, there's other services out here to help individuals that may have a tarnished past. They may have a felony conviction. For example, Project Reentry. Project Reentry is here in our community to assist those with felonies on their record to connect them with businesses that are willing to give individuals a second chance. So if my officers, if we come across somebody, we know an individual, we went to a parent who having some issues with their child, and he, for some reason, tells us that he's been having trouble finding employment, we can pass that literature off to that individual. If I go to a grieving mother who's been having some issues with their child with delinquency issues, I can connect them with an at-risk program to make sure that child is put into that program. So I think that is part of our responsibility to connect these individuals we come across in our community with our community partners. So hopefully it can break some of those cycles that we may see. Because I do know there are some individuals in our community who, they go through the prison system, they come back out, and they many times try to make things better for themselves, but they're not given a chance. So if I can just give one of them, one individual a shot, by connecting him with a program or her with a program, I think that's making a difference that we all will see hopefully in time. So first, I want to just recap. Looking at the data and targeting our patrols throughout our city, reevaluating reallocated men to create the violent crime and gang task force to address certain areas of our city that we may have seen a spike in crime. They have very flexible hours. They're led by 2 of my sergeants, and they're overseen by a lieutenant and a captain to ensure that we target those areas where we can hopefully combat those issues that we're seeing. 3, community awareness campaigns, making sure we do our job and make the citizens more aware of what's going on and how they can protect themselves and prevent themselves becoming a victim of a crime. And then 4, create those partnerships. And then with those partnerships, share that information with those that we may see who need those services within our community. So those are just 4 ways that I'm doing since in the first 60 days to try to combat some of the challenges we have with as it relates to crime. I said that kind of fast to now answer any questions anyone may have of me. Don't be bashful. I'm a very straight shooter when it comes to answering questions. Yes, ma'am.
What about collaborations with other law enforcement agencies?
Thank you so much for that. I've already had meetings with Sheriff Stone, Sheriff Atkinson. I've been in their offices one-on-one. They've been in my office together in a group meeting on a number of occasions since being here. As a matter of fact, I knew that Rocky Mount is one of these unique cities that we are split by the tracks in 2 counties. I text both of our sheriffs before I even got here, letting them know I look forward to working with each of them, because we know many of our criminals and things that happen in our city, they don't see jurisdictional lines. So we have to have that strong partnership with our law enforcement partners. Chief Puckett over in Nashville, he's our regional director for the Chiefs Association. We just had a regional meeting of all the chiefs in our 2 counties, coming all the way from Pine Tops, Greenville, all the chiefs in this region, all the way from Edenton back. Had opportunity, I know many of the chiefs anyway, being with the association myself, but all of our law enforcement partners, the SBI, the U.S. Marshal Service, ATF, all of them was there as well. So I know Ms. Pendergraft and all the others with the SBI, because I've had those long-standing partnerships with our law enforcement partners and criminal justice partners over the years. So yes, ma'am, you are absolutely correct and right. Thank you for asking that question.
And I do want to congratulate y'all on the bus last week. That
Oh.
was awesome.
Well,
Edgecombe, Nash, and Rocky Mountain.
yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So yes, strong partnerships with our law enforcement partners, Tarboro, Nashville, all the chiefs, because we have to work together in sharing those resources. And while I'm on that topic, you know, we are the agency who hosts our NIBIN system, I should say, which we analyze shell casings for not just Rocky Mount, but Greenville, Nash, Tarboro, Edgecombe, Nashville. All those agencies bring those evidence, those items to us to put into this national system. We're the host agency for that. So that just speaks to the collaboration that was here before I got to Rocky Mount, and we're going to continue that as we go forward. Yes, sir, Mr. Green.
I just want to, I guess I want to make a comment. I love what you were saying about the relationship, because we can't arrest ourselves out of crime. You can't. The thing you have to do is you have to change a mindset in some communities, you know, and so young people grow up and know that on their career checklist, being a criminal is not one of them, those things they need to check. So I commend you for even talking about the partnerships, and you know, we're here to work with the police department and trying to, you know, as Mark Froman and I talk about a lot, instead of saying breaking cycles, we're talking about creating some new cycles.
That's right.
Some cycles that produce positive and productive citizens. So I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You know, I come into this with the understanding I may not can save everyone, but if I can save and get one child or one adult back on the right path, that's a success to me. I will wish and hope I can save everybody, but if I can just get one back on the right path, that is a success. So I work in that mindset to try to help any and everyone I can. I know he had a question, Ms. Warwick.
One question. I-95 seems to be a pretty busy route with all kinds of things happening, gunshots and car wrecks and people on rage stuff. Are you involved in that, or how does that work out between the jurisdictions?
Yeah, well, the majority of 95 is going to be covered under North Carolina State Highway Patrol, but there's any sections that may be in the city, we do assist the Highway Patrol with wrecks on 95. We do have a dedicated traffic unit in our city who deal with traffic concerns, speeding concerns on our main thoroughfares in the main city of Rocky Mount, and we leave a lot of the issues on 95 to our brothers in gray, the Highway Patrol, where our new colonel is Freddie Johnson, who I am very close friends with. I have friends over there as well, but they generally will take care of 95 issues, but we always go to assist them if there's something there. But our traffic team take care of most of our traffic issues on our main roads here inside the city.
Chief, I know you're aware of all these cold cases that we might have in our area. What kind of emphasis will you be putting toward trying to bring those to a conclusion?
We have members on the cold case committee with retired General Gordon Bray. We are a member of that, working with them and trying to, any tips we get come through that committee to make sure it gets to our investigators, because even though we call them cold cases, we still have investigators assigned to each and every one of those cases, because it is our goal and our intent to try to bring some kind of closure for those families. So we are constantly seeking any additional tips through the cold case committee to give over to our investigators, so that those families hopefully one day will have some kind of closure and bringing that individual or individuals to justice. So that is a priority of our investigative team to continue to work those cases.
Chief, you talked about partnerships. How can the Rotary Club, either collectively or as individuals, how can we help?
Continue to do what you do. I mean, I've been in Rotary for 7 years. You guys support a lot of great programs in our community. Continue to do what you do and support them. There's a lot of nonprofits who need your support and your funds, and without the funds that you give them, they may have to close those doors. And as long as those doors are open, that they are providing those resources to those at-risk kids, or those senior citizens, or hospice, all the variety of things that you support. Continue to do that. Your respective businesses, your church, any associations you may have, if you see an opportunity for us to come and do some kind of crime prevention speaking engagement, or an opportunity for us to engage with youth, please just call my office, and so we can connect you with the right staff member. Because I look at, when I think about recruiting, it's not just me coming to a group and say, hey, we got openings here, you want to apply, here's the application. I really believe recruiting starts at an early age, like it was with me in Riverdale Apartments at 13. He didn't come in to me and say, I want you to be a police officer. He just wanted me to join the program. I think the same thing applies with our youth and others in the community, with a positive interaction. And hopefully that interaction may plant that seed or that thought in mind, I want to be like Officer Hassell, Officer Brown, or Officer Jackson one day when I grow up. I want to be a police officer to give back to my community, making a difference. So you don't have to be selling the agency about, hey, we want to come work for us. Just having that plain old open interaction with them in a positive way may plant that seed that hopefully one day that young man or young lady will want to probably wear the badge like I do, and like the many men and women here in Rocky Mount do every day. Because we do, in my recruitment plans, we're really looking for men and women who want to serve here in the Rocky Mount area. We want them to have a connection. Just like that's what drew me to Rocky Mount, to be close to my family. So imagine those who live in the surrounding areas to be able to serve their own community. Hopefully we can keep an officer that will come not only start here, but retire from Rocky Mount.
What do you think churches could do to improve the security during services, etc.?
Be very vigilant. Make sure the ushers, if they have security committees, I know many of them have that, to be observant of the surroundings. Make sure the parking lot, there's no one lurking around in the parking lot, whether it's trying to go into an unlocked vehicle. Make sure the doors in the back of the church are secured, that shouldn't be unlocked, so that way no one can come inside. If the church have a security system, make sure it is operating, video cameras, the alarm system, because it's not just when the members are in the church doing service, it's also when the service is not in that sometimes they're victimized. Yes, our churches are sometimes victimized, and they go in and steal the audio equipment. So make sure those alarm systems, those cameras are working. I know I'm almost short on time, but we will do a free survey. Officers will come out, walk around the church or walk around your home to see if there's any tips we can give them on how to improve the safety of your home. So we do the same for our churches as well.
I think you just have one last question, Lynn, and then we'll...
I don't have a question. It's just an invitation. We would love to have you transfer your Rotary membership.
Well, Madam City Manager already been nudging that, so she's been poking that too.
They won't stop.
We did want to give you this for, so you might already have this in your office, but this is our 4-way test, so you know that.
Yes, ma'am.
So we want to give you that so you can keep that in your office. And then we also had him sign one of our Each Kindness books. And so these are the books that we're going to use as part of our district grant, the literacy grant that will go to the kids in the local public schools. So I had him sign off on that. So if you will just give him all a big hand, and then we're going to do our 4-way test.
Thank you.